The COVID-19 pandemic has brought about the greatest crisis that the global aviation industry has ever experienced. This crisis is much more severe than we experienced at the time of 9/11 in 2001 and the global financial crisis in 2007-8. To highlight this, I will outline a few statistics from the International Air Transport Association, IATA. The losses in the global industry this year will be the biggest in aviation history, estimated at over $84 billion in 2020 and $16 billion in 2021. By comparison, airlines lost $31 billion in the global financial crisis. There is no comparison for the dimension of this crisis. IATA research indicates that fewer passengers are saying that they will travel again in the first months after the pandemic. In early April, 61% said they would. By early June, that fell to 45%. About 2/3 of people surveyed are seeing less travel plans in their future, be it for vacation, visiting friends and relatives, or business. Deloitte Consumer Sentiment in Ireland puts consumer confidence in air travel as low as 19%, and industry commentators are predicting that capacity will not revert to 2019 levels until 2022 at the earliest. There is not a clear understanding in Ireland about the scale of the crisis or indeed its significance for the Irish economy and its prospects for future recovery. The Aviation Recovery Task Force published its final report on the 10th of July and very succinctly captured the importance of aviation in Ireland. It referenced some key numbers from Oxford Economics, which I think are worth reiterating. The estimated GDP contribution of air transport to Ireland is €8.9 billion. 140,000 jobs are employed by the aviation sector. 8.7 billion is the estimated GDP contribution of foreign tourists, and about 8.8 million people visit Ireland every year by air. The report of the task force highlighted the critical importance of aviation to the Irish economy, saying that it was a strategic foundation for Ireland's open small economy. International connectivity is a key driver of that economy, and in recent years, that connectivity to Europe, North America, the Middle East and Asia has increased significantly. The level of international connectivity that Ireland enjoyed prior to the crisis was looked upon in envy in many other countries and markets. That connectivity isn't about serving local Irish demand to go on holidays. That only represents a part of it. That connectivity connects Ireland with other markets and economies. It allows business to be done internationally. It allows foreign direct investment into Ireland, which is a critical driver of the Irish economy. The connectivity is critical for regional development. Key businesses and services such as technology, software, pharmaceutical, medical, finance, food and beverage depend on that connectivity. And of course, small and medium enterprises across the country depend on inbound tourists brought to the country by aviation. There is also a lack of understanding about Ireland's leadership position from a global aviation perspective. It's not just about airlines and the airports. The global leasing market for aircraft had its origins in Ireland and controls over 60% of that market. Ireland also punches above its weight in aircraft maintenance, repair and overhaul. The aviation sector is of systemic importance to the Irish economy. It is therefore of strategic national importance that the sector be protected to survive this unprecedented crisis and be in a position to contribute to Ireland's economic recovery. I would urge the committee to review the final report of the Aviation Recovery Task Force. It had a number of key recommendations on rebuilding regional and international connectivity. It said the government should provide a rebate directly to the airlines of all Dublin airport charges and navigation charges as paid by the airline. A stimulus package should be put in place concurrently for each of Cork, Shannon, Ireland West, Kerry and Donegal airports. The current waiver for 80/20 slot use, lose it or use it, should be extended to the winter 21 season. The government should adopt the interim recommendations from the Tourism Task Force, and we should ensure that the delivery of planned airport infrastructure programmes is carried on in full and on time. It also had a number of key recommendations on saving jobs and supporting Irish business. The government should enable a liquidity initiative for the aviation sector to help companies that make a material contribution to the Irish economy. And the government should ensure that a sizable amount of funding is drawn down for the Irish aviation sector from the Next Generation EU 750 billion funding. Unfortunately, these recommendations have not yet been progressed or implemented. Regarding the Green List published on the 21st of July, it is more restrictive than in any other country in Europe. Ireland now stands alone in applying the policy. The rest of Europe has opened up for travel. The criteria used is even more restrictive than that used by the European Union for passengers from third countries entering the EU. Ireland has not acted upon the European Commission's request to member states to lift border restrictions within the EU by the 15th of June. The Green List published this week effectively means that Ireland is closed for business, and this will have profoundly negative impacts on the Irish economy and on the aviation and tourism sector jobs within them. In conclusion, I started by stating that the COVID pandemic had brought about the greatest crisis that the global aviation industry has ever experienced. The situation in the Irish sector is even worse than experienced by our international peers. We're in the unfortunate position of having the most restrictive travel policies in Europe, and secondly, having so far done the least in Europe to support the aviation sector. These issues will need to be urgently addressed given the strategic importance of aviation to Ireland's economic recovery. We are hopeful that the scale and depth of the crisis will soon be understood in Ireland and that the relevant actions to address the crisis will be taken. Aer Lingus will continue to engage with the relevant stakeholders for this purpose. Thank you.
Thank you.